Welcome to the Lou&Sue podcast.
Where we chat about life, love, and what we've learned.
So grab your cutest mug
and join us.
Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to the Lou&Sue podcast.
Today is our Valentine's Day episode. What's love got to do?
Yeah, so it is fairy tale versus reality.
Yep.
Yeah.
This one was a one that was kind of, I don't know when we were talking about it, but it was.
I feel like it was in our introduction episode. We mentioned like fairy tales.
And something, and when we did the dating one, If I Were a Boy, we talked about if we think romance is what it is because of what we see in the movies, or if it's in the movies because Hollywood knows that that's what romance is to women.
Yeah.
So kind of just talking about that versus real life stuff. So we did a little bit of research on it, but it's also just life experience in general. I was saying to Lou at the gym today that I didn't watch a lot of Disney princess movies growing up because, well, there was 3 boys in my house and it was mostly hockey on the TV. And so I don't think I had that vision that dating and romance was big poofy dresses and carriages and princes and castles. But a lot of people did.
I watched the Disney movies, but I think my idea of romance was what I would see of my parents. More so like I knew a movie was a movie.
Yeah.
But still I had the pretty flowy dresses when my mom would make them for me, and it's one of my favorite things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was definitely a fairy tale girl.
Were you a girly girl though?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was more girly girl as a kid than I am now.
Than you are now.
Yeah.
And I was more of a tomboy too.
I have my moments though where I go back and forth. I'm a Gemini.
Yeah.
I think that kind of goes with it.
You're fighting yourself on it.
I fight myself all the time.
And I mean, I
switch back and forth all the time.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I do.
And I think that creates balance though too,
Yeah.
right? I wonder, like I talked to my daughter a little bit when I was doing the notes and getting ready for this, because I was curious if her vision of what romance is different from at 17 is different from what ours is at our age. So
with our experiences and all that too.
Yeah. She said that romance to her, when she thinks about movies and things like that, is eating in a restaurant. That was her. I said, well, is that romance to you? Like, do you think that's romantic? And she's like, well, it's eating. And I was like, that's a really good point, you know?
Yeah.
And then she said, she mentions dancing. Like, and it's true. If you think about all the Disney princess movies, there's usually dancing involved. But I don't think I've ever been in a relationship with anybody who volunteered to dance with me.
No. But even at that though, we talked about that before too. We're introverts, and I think all of our experiences tended to be with introverts. So that's not overly surprising, I guess.
Yeah, and I don't feel that I'm missing out on anything.
No.
Like I'm not sitting there on a Saturday night going, I wish I was out dancing.
Yeah, and I'm not someone who overly likes dancing anyways.
Yeah.
So
or even being the center of attention, really.
No.
Like, and I think that's part of it too, is like that would pull them out of their comfort zone. But yeah, so I guess romance is really like up to the individual what you consider romantic, but it's interesting how they portray it. And I think nowadays, as a kid, you're thinking about Disney princess movies for romance. As an adult, you think about like the Hallmark movies. Yeah. Both which I don't enjoy.
I don't either.
No.
I maybe have watched 1 or 2, if that. I'm not even sure. Honestly, I don't even know if I watched one of them. I like the rom-coms is what I tend to like. I like the comedy parts of it.
Yeah.
And they have kind of expectations in there too. And all of them kind of, Disney and Hollywood, all that stuff, tend to have the damsel in distress thing. Like usually the woman's going through something. Whatever it is, whether it's her family or it's financial or she's literally drowning somewhere or something.
Big city girl, and she runs into a small town lumberjack who's going to save her.
Yeah. Or she's from a small town, she's in a big city, and she's all overwhelmed. Whatever the situation is, there's a damsel in distress somewhere. And I think that, and this is something I didn't think about, but I wonder if that's what the guys end up picturing. I don't know how much they watch any of those movies, but it's in all the rom-coms that some men watch rom-coms too, especially when they're women make them.
Well, I think we consider that romantic if they watch a romance movie with us, right?
But yeah, so it's you have that kind of stereotypical, we need the man to be our saviors. So like they're pulling us out of something. They're helping us somehow. They're just being the hero.
I think most therapists, and it's probably, I'm assuming Freudian as well, they'll say things like, well, you marry your father, or women tend to look for a fatherly figure when they're dating or getting married. And I think that goes back to the fact that your father represents your security, whether it's financial and I mean, obviously some people didn't grow up with a dad but usually there would be a male figure in their life that would represent that. And if you have a toxic relationship with your father, a lot of times those are, can follow down through into your dating life and then with your own children and things like that. So, I don't know. Like for me, I had a good relationship with my dad, and my parents would dance in the kitchen. So like you.
See, that's sweet to me. As much as I don't really care about dancing, that is still, to me, that's such a romantic thing.
Yeah.
That's true.
I think that did have more of an impact on me than movies, for sure. And, my dad, if he left the house for business or work or just to go get a coffee, rarely came back without something from my mom. And my mom's not a big snacker, but he would always bring her like a chocolate bar or, that she liked something. And he bought her flowers quite often too. But I think it represented the fact he was thinking about her.
Yeah.
So that to me is romance. Like if you do something, and we've talked about this before, it's not about the flowers. But if you do something to show that you're thinking about them when you're not with them.
I'm on your mind. Like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah. That's the connection and everything. But as far as like romantic movies go, I agree with you. I didn't really think about rom-coms for some reason, and I do love them. Like I think I watched what's that one? The Wedding Planner. Wedding Planner. I've seen that one so much that I actually like ruined my DVD. I had watched it so many times.
Yeah. I have some of those too.
Yeah. And I don't know what it is specifically about it that I loved, because it's not like, I'm not like a Matthew McConaughey fan. And Jennifer Lopez kind of plays herself in every movie, in my opinion.
But is it, so to me, it would be like she made herself, right? Like
she was an independent woman. She was a wedding planner, obviously.
Yeah.
I did watch it partially for her clothing, because at that time I thought she dressed really nice. And maybe I'm such an aesthetic person that sometimes I'll watch movies just because I like the look of them. Like I think about the movie Autumn in New York. It's so beautiful, so that has nothing to do with romance, but I just like it.
No, but it's something that attracts you to that movie kind of thing. And then
the music in it and the atmosphere, like they're watching an old movie on a big like projector screen in a park, and then he gets down and he asks her if she wants to dance or vice versa. Anyway, and they dance in this park to the music of an old 1940s movie. And that, to me, that would be very romantic.
Yeah.
But also I feel like I would be kind of shy. So in reality, if that were to happen, I'd be like, no, I'm good. Thanks, though.
That's what's so funny, because you'll see it in a movie and be like, oh, that's so romantic. And then it's like, but I don't really want anybody to do that.
No, that's definitely the fairy tale versus reality.
Awkward. Maybe if we were completely by ourselves and there's nobody else around, okay. But
yeah, because I told my husband he had to dance with me at our wedding, and he didn't want to. And to be honest with you, when it was time to do it, I kind of didn't want to either. Like I wanted to, because I didn't want to have any regrets. But it's just this moment of you're going around in circles, staring at each other.
Yeah, it is. It's awkward, and you're the center of attention because it's your wedding day.
Everybody's staring at you and taking pictures.
But I had the exact same experience where, for me to make it less awkward, I assumed, like, what if we do like some kind of choreography thing, not like anything extravagant by any means, but do something where it's like, let's focus on these moves as opposed to that everyone's watching us. Yeah. And that was like, no go. There's just no way. Yeah. But I got that moment with my dad. So I got my little father-daughter dance, and Dad's like, yeah, what do you want to do? Yeah. So we did it, just this tiny little thing, but then everybody cheered when we did it. So it was exciting. Yeah. And
but her dad's moment. Very romantic.
Yeah.
Her dad's awesome.
Yeah. So to me, in my experience, my dad's always shown me the little things that I find romantic, that a lot of people find romantic. And we talked about this before, but essentially every time he would walk by my mom, he would put his hand on her or little things like that. My dad would be a dancer, and he's happy to date. We talked about that too. Yes. And he likes planning the dates. And
your dad definitely, for me, is
he's
outside the box. Yeah, like
my dad's a gem.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My mom
might not always agree, but this is what I saw, right? This is my perception of it. So.
Well, when you're the little girl, it's different than being in the relationship.
Yeah.
And I saw my dad that way as well. And your cats are losing their minds.
I'm sorry, my cats are playing, so if you can hear them, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I love that they're playing, so I'm not going to tell them to stop by any means, but hopefully it's not too loud. They're playing with
I should have put my shoes away.
Shoes,
yeah. Oops. What's the most romantic thing anybody's ever done for you? That was romantic
to think about
you?
that one.
Yeah,
I'm sure that there's something. I'm sure there's something, but I'm like, I'm not in the moment right now of thinking that things were like done for me that were romantic.
I remember one time I came home. It was my birthday, and I'm always a big picture person. I take pictures constantly, and we took a selfie at the gym today. And he had printed off all the pictures we had taken and put them in an album for my birthday. That was the most romantic thing anybody's ever done for me. I thought that was really sweet because you knew what it meant to me. So yeah. You got nothing still?
All I have is the most romantic thing that was done after we separated.
Yeah.
But it proved how much he knew me. So when I was moving into my apartment and I was able to have cats again, he got me my cats.
Yeah.
Because, and I cried. Like, it was a moment where I cried. I'm like, no one's ever done anything this nice for me. Ever.
And something
because
is so
he knows
specific to you.
My old cats passed away, and I was holding off on getting any new ones because of his dog, and like his dog's a little bit older, so we didn't want to put that stress on her. But because we were separating and I was able to have my own, you know, he found me the cats, and it's like, of course I was going to fall in love with them, and then we went and got them. But it's just like, I wish the romantic could have been when we were together versus. And to be fair, he did do all the little things. He was good at that. He would grab me my favorite snacks, or he would think of me in different ways for different things. So like, he wasn't unromantic, I guess, for things like that. But like, the nicest thing anyone's ever done for me was that. And it was after we separated.
Well, and I don't. So again, that's not something that you saw in a movie that you were like, this would be romantic, and then it happened. That's just romantic
he
because
knew me,
right?
And he knew what impact that would have.
So both of our examples are things that are. It's because men knew who we were, and they did something that they knew would mean a lot to us individually.
So, like you said, it's an individual thing of what romance specifically is for each of us. Yeah, and that's.
Yeah, and I think even on the flowers example, like red is like my least favorite color.
Same.
And roses are just kind of.
They're so boring.
If you get me red roses, it's
or something. They're pretty.
Yeah, pink. Something different, like something seasonal. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm asking too much, but if you give me red roses, it's kind of just, to me, they're beautiful and thank you, and it's a wonderful gesture. But if you know me, then you would never get me red roses because it would be my last, you know. And
this is one thing my ex-husband did too, is he got me the most colorful. I don't even know what kind of flowers they were, but they were the most colorful. So it's like, well, I saw those and I immediately thought of you, and I'm like, yep, that's romantic.
So to equate that to men, if you were going to do something, let's say the person you're dating is a sports fan, go sports. Because it's also,
I can get into sports pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm good at
that. So let's say he's a hockey fan. So you're like, I'm going to get him a jersey, or I'm going to get him tickets to a game. Well, you can't just get him any jersey. You've got to get him his team.
I got him some jerseys.
Right? So, but you knew who his team was.
Yeah, and I asked him. Most of the time, he didn't want a specific player anyways.
Yeah. Because they might not always be playing for the team. You got to remember that the roster changes, right? So
I do know that. Yeah. Because he did the fantasy stuff, and I knew all about the. No, but there was, I think there's only one football jersey that I got him that he wanted the name, and it was not even the player that played for them anymore, but it was when he started loving that team was for that quarterback, and it was like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but I kind of asked him, wasn't much of a surprise because I ended up bringing it up. Like I had to ask him
But
what he
I
wanted
think,
because I wanted to make sure he was exactly what he wanted.
yeah, and if that's something, generally that sports stuff is quite expensive, so you don't want to spend that much
Yeah,
money on
I don't
something
want to
that's the wrong
assume and
one.
then be like, well,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
I think that just goes back to paying attention. So romance
And I think that's
is
part
about
of who
that.
we are. I don't know if it's just us, but I think as
Mm-hmm.
women in general, is I guess it's an emotional thing, but it's more that we pay attention to specifics. Like
Mm-hmm.
I want, and I'm more excited to give it to him than he is to even receive it because it's like I thought
Yeah.
of you. This is so
Yeah.
specific to you.
Like I finally nailed a gift. I got it
And
right,
then I think one thing that makes me sad is as far as gift giving went,
Mm.
the thought specifically of me kind of stopped, which he did little things here and there. So I'm never going to say that he never did, but he would pick out clothes that just made no sense. And he would be so quick and anxious about it that he would buy something like a 2X large. And it's like, I'm sorry, but that you know that your wife is not this
Clothes are
size.
tough because if you buy it too
Yeah.
big, it's offensive. And if you buy it too small, it's offensive.
And he would
And
know
it's
that
just,
like I like something to do with hair, but he's like, what does she need? Like she
yeah.
has everything. So he's a guy.
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything about hair. So I get it to a certain extent. I might have been harder to shop for than he was.
Yeah.
So it ended up being like, oh, put an Amazon list together and here's my credit card. Go pay
I think
for
a
it.
lot of us women are hard to shop for, though.
So we ended up doing that, but then I ended
Yeah.
up missing the personal part of it. It's like
Mhm.
you're not, and maybe that's being too tough now, but it's
Yeah.
like you're not putting any effort into this.
I think a lot of relationships get that way because when Christmas rolls around and I'm cutting hair, I ask men all the time, like, so do you and your wife exchange gifts? And it seems like the longer they've been married, the more the answer is no.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we need something, we just buy it. And or they'll go away together on a trip.
Yeah,
Or
I
they'll
like
just do
that.
a stocking for each other, like just so that there's
Yeah.
something. But speaking of paying attention, so my daughter pointed out something funny about Cinderella when we were talking about this romance thing, and she was like, try to remember how she worded it because it was hilarious. She's so observant, and she's like, it's kind of ridiculous. So this prince loves this woman who he met for what, an hour or two at this dance.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to marry her after just this amount of time, but literally didn't know who she was and couldn't recognize her if he saw her. He needed to the point where it could have been, if the shoe had fit the ugly stepsisters, he would have thought that was Cinderella. And my daughter's like, how does that equate to love? You don't know anything about her, and you even can't recognize her if you see her.
Yeah.
Because her clothing is different.
But she was pretty when she was dancing.
And he was in love. But it's kind of funny. So paying attention is really important.
And go ahead.
I was just going to say, speaking of which, I wanted to do a little plug for Bernice McNaughton High School is doing Cinderella as their play for Valentine's Day. I think they're doing a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday performance.
Okay.
And it's not for profit, but it does cost a lot of money to put on the presentation. So if you're local and you're looking for something to do, I think the tickets are only $20 and they can be booked on their school website. I'm pretty sure there's a QR code on there. So if you want something to do, go out and support a local school and celebrate Valentine's Day by watching a fairy tale in live action.
That would be fun.
And I know one of the girls and she can sing. So yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to plug them.
No, that's perfect. I was just saying that I saw a comedian do this, and I think Susan was saying that there's TikToks that do that kind of tear apart different fairy tales. So
yes,
like my favorite fairy tale ever was always Beauty and the Beast.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, again, I think it was the independent part where she's just like, I don't need Gaston. Everyone likes him. I don't care. I don't need this. Give me my books. I love my dad. Like my life is good.
Pure and simple girl.
But then she falls in love with literally a beast.
Yeah.
And she's a prisoner.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you take it apart, and it's like, you mean I get all of these characters making me dinner and doing all the cleaning and, having all of my clothes ready for me. And I have this library of books. And it'd be a pretty good life, except she started out as a prisoner.
Exactly. Yeah.
So just you can't look too far into it.
And the moral of the story was that beauty is not skin deep, right?
Yes.
So, and Shrek, we talked about this one too.
Yeah, Shrek is one of my favorite ones because when you look at the Snow White and all that stuff, or Sleeping Beauty, where it's like True Love's Kiss.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Shrek True Love's Kiss.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm supposed to be beautiful.
Yeah.
She's still an ogre.
Yeah.
Well, you are beautiful.
Well, as
And it's
opposed to
like,
the Frog
oh,
Prince,
it's...
where like once they kiss, the frog turns into a beautiful prince.
Yeah.
Beautiful prince, handsome.
Handsome.
Anyway, in the original, in
Men
the book,
can still be beautiful, especially the princes.
that's
they tend
very
to be
true.
more beautiful.
Yeah.
It's not my idea what I would pick for a prince, but that's okay.
No, it's funny because I didn't think of this when I was making the notes. But my dad, when I was born, he went to the gift shop and he bought the Frog Prince book, one of those little ones, and that was the first thing my dad ever bought me, was a romance. Like, well, it was a kid's book, but so that's funny that we were just talking about that. That never hit me. But yeah, the moral of the story is that, you know, if they can get beyond the surface level, then they'll find their true love. So, but with Shrek, yeah, she not cute after, supposedly,
but she was beautiful to him.
Yeah,
and that was the point. And I don't know, I just love Shrek. Everything about Shrek, the music that's on Shrek, it's just, Shrek's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like Shrek too. And I mean, Donkey's hilarious, right? So,
yes.
Yeah.
He's annoying. That's the whole point.
He is annoying.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the romance movies they do maybe put a little bit of a false advertising in your head, maybe. I know, Katie, you want to come up here.
I think you just need to keep in mind that it's a movie.
It's a movie.
Or it's a book. It's a story.
Yeah.
And it's not real life. And this is the problem. Is this what we're trying to figure out is we have this, so talk about getting married, right? So you did it twice, but you technically did it once because your first one was like, you didn't really have much say in it. You didn't have
the big wedding.
You don't have all of the feelings and all the experiences. But we have this since we were little kids. Like, this is going to be my wedding day.
Yeah.
To the point where it's like, if I really think about it, we probably never should have gotten married. I don't regret it. I'm not saying that. I don't regret it. However, the focus was more on
the day rather than the marriage.
The day, but it was still about the marriage. So it's not like I was in denial of that, but I still wanted my wedding day. Like, and my plan was, this is my only wedding day, and it probably still will be my only wedding day. That's fine, but it had to be special. Yeah. And everything had to be special. And I worked it up to so much to the point where it was still a great day.
Yeah.
But on the day, I realized how little that mattered.
Yeah.
And it's so hard not to.
Like, you can get distracted with it, for sure. I mean, it eats up. Planning a wedding's not easy, and it takes a lot of time.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of money.
Yeah. And how do you...
A lot of stress.
Yeah. I mean, I had mentioned on a previous episode that I was engaged for 3 months after we started dating, and then it was almost a year and a half of planning. So our whole relationship was basically wedding planning.
Yeah.
You know, so I can relate to that. But I did continuously remind myself, and perhaps because I had already been married, that yes, the wedding is important, but it's just a day, and it's really about the marriage. And that's easy to lose sight of when you want the romance, you know, of it.
And we do. And that's a lot of the dancing comes in there too, where we said, like, there's a dance. It's special. The whole thing is special.
Yeah.
And we want to feel special.
Yeah.
And it's hard where at least your husband wanted to plan the wedding with you. Mine didn't. And no interest in any of that.
Yeah.
So that was disappointing to me, because part of the fairy tale to me was planning it together. And I knew that I would be
because it's your day
caring
with him.
about it more. Yeah. So like, me and her planned my wedding more than anybody else. But still, the point was I wanted him to be part of some of it. Yeah. And he had no interest in it. He had a great time on the day. I think he almost had more fun than I did. But yeah, I feel like I missed out on some of the enjoyment of us looking forward to it together.
Maybe because he didn't grow up probably dreaming about his wedding, though.
And guys don't generally.
Yeah.
Some do, but
I don't think in the detail that we do. I don't think they think about what colors they'll pick
to
and
the same extent
what kind of flowers. And no, that wouldn't even... Flowers are flowers, probably. But yeah, and then the other thing I was thinking about too was the opposites attract thing that they portray a lot. and I kind of had a funny moment where I was listing them off in my head. I was like, there's Romeo and Juliet, and there's the Grease movie, and there's Beauty and the Beast. Like it's the opposites, you know, and sometimes it's the bad boy. And then I was thinking about Labyrinth, and I think you said, or my daughter said, I can't remember, is that a romance? And I'm like, well, it's weird because he wants her to come live with him, but she's like 15 or something. And he's like it's David Bowie. He's like an old man. Anyway, but
yeah,
it is kind of that.
She's telling me about the story about talking to her daughter, and then I'm like, I've never seen this, and then she's telling me more about it. I'm like, I don't want to see this.
No, we were in the sauna at Evolve Spa, and she's like, that's weird, and I'm like, the more I say it out loud, the weird. And I love the movie Labyrinth, but
she wasn't selling it to me.
No,
so the more she went on, I'm like, I don't really want to.
Unless I'm misreading the situation, it seemed like he was trying to, fall in love with her. And anyways, that's weird. So, but
it might not have been the intention in the first place.
Yeah,
for when they made it, but
it's a Jim Henson movie too. There's puppets in it and stuff. Like anyway, it's bizarre, but yeah. So the whole opposites thing is like. Then I started kind of going down that rabbit hole of like, well, why do we like the opposites? Why do we go for the bad boy? And it's because if romance is us looking for security, that's kind of the opposite of that, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like the adventure side of it and the excitement.
That's what I was going to say. It's the adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but that's just, and I mean, typically our moms or dads would say no too. And then depending on your personality, that might push you more towards it rather than away from it. So
well, then Dirty Dancing, right?
That's a good one.
That's the perfect kind of example where it's there's no way you're not allowed.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? I want to do more now.
Right. Absolutely. And by the way, he was a good guy too, though.
Yeah.
Right. So, that's why did I think of Dirty Dancing?
This is the problem.
Yeah.
Is because the bad guys generally are not actually good guys.
Right.
They are in the movies.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
And if you date a bad guy in real life,
them and we can make them good guys.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It's not gonna happen.
See how we figure out while we're talking? It's
wow.
like, oh geez, bring that back up.
Yeah.
And Dirty Dancing is one of your favorite movies. How do you not remember?
That was the movie that I wanted to watch the night before the wedding. When all the girls were together, because I didn't have like a bachelorette, I wanted to watch Dirty Dancing and drink wine and talk.
Yeah, but that was fun. I like that.
Anyway, yeah.
It
was fun, and we didn't watch it, did we?
We started watching it.
It was on, I think, in the background. But yeah, I don't know why I didn't think of that. Every girl that grew up in the 80s, and I would stretch it and say probably even the 90s, loved Dirty Dancing. Patrick Swayze's amazing. And his I read his biography, and his love story is unreal. Like him and his wife really, really loved each other, and they were married young and stayed married right through till he passed away. So yeah, maybe that's why he was so good in that movie, because he is a romantic. I don't know. But,
and that's the draw. Mm-hmm. That's like, well, you're the bad boy, so you're adventurous, you're exciting.
Yeah.
But you're also nice and you're safe but that doesn't generally happen.
Mm. And he loved to dance.
And he looked good doing it.
Yeah.
Oh, especially the way they were dancing.
Mm-hmm.
So the dancing, we talked about this.
We had to keep past it PG.
A little bit. But the dancing that we talked about it's so important because it's the man taking the lead.
Mm.
That's important, right? Did you hear that reaction?
It's the physical touch.
Taking the lead, physical touch. It's intimate. It's close.
The strength.
It
makes us feel femininity. It's kind of like the whole and I know I say don't come at me almost every episode. Don't come at me, okay? But
no one's coming at you.
Nobody's coming at me.
Not so far.
My daughter is very short, okay? And she always wanted to be like 6 foot. And at one point I said to her, why do you want to be 6 foot tall? Like, you're going to probably want to date a man who's taller than you. So if you're 6 foot, and all of you tall girls out there, I don't know, maybe I'm incorrect. I'm only 5'5", so I don't know.
I'm 5'8", and I have a hard time finding a man that's tall enough.
Yeah, like
I want to wear heels,
and you want to wear heels.
I don't generally want to,
right?
But I want the option to.
When Nicole Kidman broke up with Tom Cruise, that was the first thing she said. I can wear heels again. So, it's the femininity thing, though. It seems
so minute, but it matters.
Yeah.
Like,
and if it doesn't matter to you, awesome. But
maybe I'm superficial, but to me it matters. Like, I want to look up to you. I don't want to be like, oh, there you are down there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because it's on another level too, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like in general, and I saw this video where it's like, this isn't really where we thought this was going to go, but I loved it so much. It was, if I can find it, I'll link it. It was, women need a man who's more successful than her, more, like, you know, healthier than her, like more fit than her, more whatever, right? More, because that's where the attraction is. Because if you're less, then it's like, sorry, that's not attractive.
But again, I think that goes back to security.
Yeah,
so if I'm in a burning building,
you have more drive, and it'll pull me, and I will too. But if I don't want you to pull me down. See my cat's tail here. Sorry.
You're so ploofy. If you're in a burning building, okay, this is why firefighters are masculine, and a lot of women are like, ooh, firefighter. Yeah. Because I know that you'll actually save my life. You can save me. You can lift me up. You can carry me, you know. And then what else is like, I guess, like the authority of maybe like anybody in uniform, military, and
it also just kind of looks good.
And looks good. And then you got your Vikings.
That's my thing right now. I like the Vikings.
Vikings are,
a Viking to me is the powerful.
So so why do you like Vikings?
Powerful, strong. I mean, okay.
I don't hate the hair and the stuff either.
Well, they're usually all tattooed up too, so obviously I love that. Yeah, they're rough.
Yeah.
I don't like. First of all, I don't like that they're actually out fighting, and I also don't like that most of them aren't very loyal to their women. Really don't like. Well,
the pillaging is not great.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. But the look of the Viking, the strength, and that's what it is. It's the strength.
Do you remember the show Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman?
Yes.
Sully, was my mom's boyfriend. She loved him, and that to me is like that's the whole Viking thing, right? The guy was like, I don't know if he grew up around the Aboriginals or
I don't remember,
but he had like that whole, you know, not loincloth, but the leather. Anyway, he was just manly, right? And she was this feminine, like she was independent. She was a doctor in those days.
Yeah,
that was a big deal. If you don't know what we're talking about, then I'm sorry. You'll have to watch a trailer.
Just Google it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the appeal, especially for us, where we're independent. We still need a man.
Yeah. To be a man.
That's the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And this is going through the separation right now, and I considered dating. I reconsidered that real quick. I'm not there right now.
Yeah.
But my image, and this, you know, could change over time, but my image is so strong right now of like, you need to be a man. If I go and say, well, he needs to be tall, he needs this, he needs that, all of it lines up to I need a man.
And I think the physicality is not going to be as difficult to find. I think it's more when all of that is checked off, then can you be a man in other ways?
So the physicality, that's a nice thing. Of course, if you look like a Viking, then that's bonus. But the point is the overall feel. Like, I need to feel like I have a man in my life versus I am the man in the relationship. And that's the thing.
And be man enough to pursue you, and be man enough to ask you out, and be man enough to admit when he's wrong, and be man enough to apologize. And like, it's not just, it's not just about looks. It's about stepping up.
No. And for women, I think for men, it's a little more about the looks matter a little bit more, but for women, it changes so easily. Like we said this we
talked about this
before. I don't even remember which one. It doesn't matter. But a man could be a really good looking guy if we look at him.
He could be a 10.
And then the way he's acting, it's like, no, you drop real quick.
Yeah.
And the other way around too, right? Like somebody could become way more attractive. They have all these other qualities, and like personality wise and emotionally. So me, I think it's the emotional intelligence that I'm lacking. Not that I'm like that.
That you're lacking in others.
In a partner, basically.
Yeah.
And if, you know, somebody had all of that, they become more attractive.
I think for me now, because it's interesting, we go from, you know, watching the fairy tales as a kid to watching the Hallmark movies as adults. For me, romance right now is somebody who listens, who is empathetic, who, if you get into a discussion where there's an argument arising, that they can stay calm, and be logical and repeat back to you what it is you're feeling and not hear something else, not get defensive, which is kind of like, so you want a man to be manly, but in these situations, you want them to also be soft enough to listen.
Yeah. Be comfortable enough to be vulnerable with me. So like in a private setting, just be vulnerable. Wow. I had a hard time saying that one. Vulnerable.
Yeah.
But that's such a, it's a sexy thing.
It is.
That's romantic.
It is. And I think when you think back about any of the male figures in the romances, that's what they were though, right? Like they were in the wedding planner when he took her. I don't know if it was his idea though, but anyways, it doesn't matter. He was willing to go see a romantic movie in the park and dance with her.
It's the point of like they'll take something that she mentioned in her childhood she was lacking or something like that, and then they'll make that happen. And it's the point of, and like we said about the most romantic things that were done for us, it's the I feel seen.
Yeah.
And that's the point, right? Like it doesn't have to be this great big romantic gesture, but it feels like a great big romantic gesture if it's specific to who you're, dating. Because it's, if you know that this is going to make a big impact for me, that's romantic.
Yeah.
Whether it takes a lot of work or not, it doesn't really matter. But the point is you had to listen.
Yeah.
You listened, you retained it, and you're thinking about, oh, she's going to love this.
Yeah.
That's romantic.
Yeah. And I mean, we talked about this in If I Were a Boy as well, where it's like, we both have had moments where we've kind of looked at each other and said, we would make awesome boyfriends because we're so romantic. And I don't
very
think,
attentive.
Yeah. I don't think that men necessarily need nor want that as much as we do.
Yeah.
And I just from experience, like I've done things for people before that I thought it was going to bring them to tears, and it didn't.
And then it ends up with you disappointed.
And then I'm disappointed because I've set these expectations of he's going to react like this. And I mean, the thing that I'm thinking of, I spent the whole day. I'm just going to say it because I think like, so I wasn't going to change my name again. Mostly because my last name is the same as my daughter's. But it meant a lot to my husband for me to change my name, to take his name. So I also knew, 44 years of stuff to change is going to be a pain.
So much work.
So I was like, well, I changed it on Facebook. That's good enough, Anyway, so I took my day off and I didn't tell him I was doing this. And I went out and I changed my name legally. And to tell him, I went home and I baked cupcakes and I put frosting on all of them. And then I put my new name, but I messed up like one letter per cupcake and I messed it all up. And then when it came time for dessert, I put them in front of him and I said, now you can have one, but you have to figure out what it spells. And he did figure it out eventually. And he was like, oh, cool. And he took a bite and I was like, seriously?
Yeah. Like, do you not get it? Wait, I changed my name for you.
Yeah.
Isn't that what you wanted?
And
why aren't you crying?
And it was such a letdown because my expectations were that he was going to be, I didn't expect him to cry, really. No. He's not a crier. But my expectations were that he would stand up and give me a hug and be like really happy about it.
Yeah.
And then I questioned myself. I was like, well, did I really even need to do it? And then I realized, okay, well, you didn't do it for the accolades. You did it because it was something. So you kind of have to check yourself,
Yes.
But yeah, so I think when we do those things, it means so much to us that we expect it will to them.
Yeah.
And that was a lesson learned for me. I'm like, not that I won't ever do anything like that again. I'll just have more realistic expectations of his reaction to it.
Yeah. Don't let yourself get so disappointed by his maybe lackluster kind of response to it.
Yeah. And it's sometimes that's just people's personality too. They're just not overly, like, I'm a very reactive person and I still can't believe I haven't cried yet on this, but anyway, it's good because we don't have Kleenex.
I'm generally not a super reactive person, but when you do it right, So like she'll do things and that'll make me cry because it's like she knows me.
And if I make somebody cry, it makes my day. Like happy tears, obviously.
Yeah. Happy tears. Definitely happy tears.
Yeah.
But yeah, the getting my cats was emotional.
Yeah.
I reacted to that.
Mm-hmm. That was a good example.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I should be sad over the fact that we can't really think of a bunch of examples, you know?
And again, like it's not that I didn't ever get romantic things, but when you date introverts, you can't expect grand gestures.
No.
And that's normal.
Yeah.
And that's okay because I also don't know how much I want super grand gestures depending on what they are.
Yeah. Especially public ones.
Public ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When people talk about like, well, how did he propose? I was never the person that wanted a big elaborate, like at a restaurant. I will fully admit I ruined that for myself. Did you?
Yeah. So I picked out my ring because I was like, I'm going to make this simple for you. It was also during COVID, so we couldn't go to stores. We picked one online. Mm-hmm. I picked the one I wanted because if I let him pick, he would have spent more money than he needed to. Mm-hmm. And it's fine.
Yeah.
So it showed up and I knew when it showed up and he paid for it. But then I always told him I didn't want anything public, but I want something. Yeah. I want some kind of, to me, romantic, just meaning something that's us, something related to us. It doesn't need to be a big gesture, but something that's us. Yeah. So I took the pressure off of don't put it on a holiday. Don't feel like, oh, it's Valentine's Day, you better propose, or it's Christmas. No, don't have a specific day. Don't do it in front of anybody else. Take that pressure off because, again, it's a very anxious person. Yeah. So I want to take that pressure off. But I still expected something. I'm a sucker for a story, and I always love a story.
Well, you know everybody's going to ask you, too. Well, how did he do it? Yeah.
But just even for myself, I need a story. So he goes in the other room so he can look at it when it showed up. And then he comes back into the kitchen and he gets on one knee, and I'm like, no. He's like, well, I'm like, no, you're not doing this right now. You're not doing this right now. Like, you have nothing planned. It just showed up, and you're like, no.
It's not
Hold acceptable. On to it. I know it's here, so I know it's coming, but I want it to still be a surprise.
I'm going to need more than that.
So I was still upset. We ended up being a bit of an argument, understandably, because I stopped him from proposing to me. Like that probably didn't feel very good for him either.
Yeah.
But then I think it was the next day he goes to make me dinner, and I still said the same. I'm like, no, what are you doing? We're not back on like wonderful terms right now. What are you doing? Like now it feels like you feel obligated.
Yeah.
So when he did propose, and it was nice. He had a list of all his favorite moments of things that we've done over like at the time our 8 years being together. But we sat on the couch. He didn't even get down on one knee, but I didn't even notice. It was better. I mean, but I still felt like I ruined it because he tried to propose to me twice before I let him. Yeah. So I ruined that.
And I feel like if you were standing up, he probably would have got down on one knee. Yeah. Those first 2 times, you know what I mean? So yeah. Yeah. But I don't know. It's
either way, this is the question, right? So it's like I told him for years that I wanted something. Yeah. That I expected something. Was it right for me to expect something? Maybe not. But when I didn't get anything, was it wrong for me to be upset about it?
I think
maybe not.
If you've expressed something to somebody and it doesn't happen, then it's okay if you're upset. If you're expecting him to be a mind reader,
that's different.
Then that's totally different. And by the way, that made me think of something. I had a conversation with a client yesterday, and he was talking about his wife being jealous of how guys solve problems. Like they can just punch each other and then they're friends the next day.
And then they're over it.
Yeah. They're over it. And I said, isn't that funny? Because one of the things that I struggle with in every relationship I've ever been in with a male is the next day after an argument, they do not understand why we're not over it. And we can say till we're blue in the face that we haven't resolved anything. We might have fought, but nothing's been resolved in the female brain. You know, we still need to either have some action put into place to change it. We need an apology to happen.
We need a sincere,
apology. Heartfelt apology.
Some kind of action showing that it's sincere too.
A change in behavior. Yes. Depending on the situation, we need something concrete to happen in order to be moved past it. or it will just keep coming up again, which is where nagging comes in. This is why women nag. It's because they don't feel that it was squared away and put away properly. And for a man, the argument happens. They go to sleep. They wake up the next day. It's over. It's dealt with. It should never come up again. In their mind, it's gone. It's vanished. And I don't understand that.
No, me neither.
But it is, but understanding that that's the way a man's mind works helps to not be so angry about it. But men need to understand that that is not how our brain works. Women don't go out and punch each other on the playground and they're best friends the next day. We will hold that grudge for 20 years and we will cross their picture out in the yearbook. And we will still tell that story, you know, when we're 85 about that one time that girl stole our favorite pencil.
And so this is the thing about if we get an argument about something and it doesn't get resolved, then it's in their mind we're holding a grudge and we never let anything go. We never let anything. If you make the change or it gets actually resolved somehow, that's getting let go because it's not getting brought up again. But the problem is if you keep repeating the same problem, the same things keep happening, it's going to keep getting brought up. And it's not because we're bringing it up. It's because, again, you're still, you haven't changed. You're sorry meant nothing. Or
when I expressed my feelings, all you did was get defensive. So
and that's
not
my
resolving
experience.
it.
And that's not every man. That's just our experience, right? So that's why I'm saying I want a Viking that can listen.
We want a Viking who can resolve issues.
I want you to solve the problem. I want you to, we talked about this in the If I Were a Man, but it's like, just stop being so defensive. Take accountability for stuff. Let us actually talk about things, resolve it. And then, that closeness is going to be so much better.
Romance to me is a man listening to me, not feeling attacked, fixing the problem, hugging me, and moving on.
And a hug goes a long way. Yes. That's all we want. We want a hug. Yeah. I hear you. I love you. Here, I'm hugging you. Tell me what you need.
What would your dad do if you fell down and skinned your knee?
Oh, yeah.
He'd pick you up. He'd wipe away your tears. He'd give you a hug. And then he'd probably give you something to eat. And we like that too. It's like...
To be fair, my dad would probably be like, tell my mom, go fix this. But he would still hug me.
But I think it's the security, it's the love, it's the embracing. We just
need to feel that we're allowed to be vulnerable. And when we're being, whether we're being told or not, but when they're taking it as an attack and it's like, I'm not attacking you. I'm just trying to feel my emotions out loud.
Yeah.
Let me feel.
Let me work through it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Give me that safe space to do that.
Exactly.
Speaking of working out.
Yes.
So we went to the gym today. We joined again last week. And
so instead of having I suppose it's not instead. I was going to say our favorite thing this week. Yeah.
It is having it.
That's what I'm saying. Oh. I was saying instead of, but that's not true.
Yeah.
I don't know what we're talking about. It's okay. Keep going. You're on a roll.
Well, actually, if we want to go back, rewind a little bit, we didn't do the quote.
Okay, so we're going to do the quote.
Yeah, I jumped ahead. Really good one. So
because
you said the word workout, and then I was like, "Ooh, workout."
Yeah, we'll bring it back.
Bring it back a little bit. So,
if you haven't figured out, this is just us chatting. Clearly, this.
If this was scripted, you'd know it by now.
You know. Yeah,
we scripted this in. The quote for today is, "You know you're in love when you can't fall asleep because reality is finally better than your dreams." And it's a Dr. Seuss quote. So. I thought it was very fitting.
It's very fitting for our childhood, for our age.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't know who he is, well, it sucks to be you. All right. So
again, Google it.
Speaking of working out,
yes, try that again. To that. We worked out this morning. We've finally gotten back to going to the gym, which is nice. I like going out to the gym and not just using my gym at home too. There's other machines.
We're
and it's
really
just a
loving
social
like
thing and
feeling sore again and like in a
productive.
Good way. Yeah.
Feeling productive. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's it's our favorite thing today. And we were doing leg day again and we were doing squats on the Smith machine. Oops, that's going to make noise. Sorry about that. Doing squats on the Smith machine. And Sarah came over to us. She's one of the trainers at Just Fit here in Riverview. And she asked if she could give us some instructions on how to do our squats a little bit better. Mm-hmm. And we really appreciated that. And then we told her
to avoid injury. So it was very appreciative because we're close to 40 or in our 40s. Mm-hmm. So avoiding injury is why we're at the gym in the first place.
P.S. I injured myself today at the gym. After that, I pulled my hamstring, but
not a full injury, but it's like I'm going to feel this.
Yeah, hopefully
let's not keep going with this exercise. I'm going to actually injure myself.
Yeah, exactly. And being smart about that and knowing when to stop. But it's interesting because we're reading, and we'll go into this deeper on another episode, but we're reading just finished the Mel Robbins book, Let Them. And one of the things she talks about in it is being open enough to walk up to somebody and introduce yourself and share with them and find your circle and find your people. And we're both trying to stretch out and do that. And Sarah did that so naturally.
Yes, it was really nice.
She was great. Hi, Sarah. And so I took that moment that I remember from Mel Robbins, and after Sarah did that and she was ready to walk away, I was like, I'm Sue and this is Lou. And she's like, oh, Lou&Sue. And I said, yeah, we have a podcast. It's Lou&Sue.
The Lou&Sue podcast.
And then she told us to write it on the chalkboard.
Yeah, there's a chalkboard at the Smith machine. So when you're doing your squats and stuff, you have something to look at.
Yeah.
So our Lou&Sue podcast is officially on that.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting.
We started doing that everywhere. I mean, we met somebody at Evolve Spa. Mm-hmm. It's her,
Allie.
And we added her on Instagram, and it's fun to stretch out a little bit beyond your comfort zone and introduce yourself. And you realize all of a sudden that you're not going to be, kind of going back to the bullying episode we did. Like, you're not going to be made fun of. We're not in high school anymore. And honestly, let them if they're not going to accept you, but taking that chance and taking that risk and meeting new people and, realizing that
this goes with, and I said this in the narcissist episode as well, but I think I've said it somewhere else, but surrounding yourself with people that care about you, that, just having the right circle,
having the same
our
drive as you,
her and I, is so easy because we're so compatible in a lot of things. We don't like all the same things, but we like enough of the same things that, we like going out to the gym and working out together. We like going to the spa together. And we actually both really like that when we hang out, we're doing something productive every time versus just, I don't drink at all. She's barely drinks. So we're not going to go out to a bar and start drinking for a night. That's just not our cup of tea. So
we could do that and record it though.
Just kidding. That would probably be entertaining. However, that would have to be for the podcast because I wouldn't want to do it otherwise. I still don't really want to do it.
Well, you hit a certain age where it's not worth doing that anyway.
No, it's not, because the recovery is so long.
Yeah.
But the point is to have the people around you that fill your cup, like that. What is it that I just shared? I'll find it.
You find it and link it.
I'll link it or I'll add it to our stories. But the point is that having the people around you that your energy is elevated by the end of it versus drained.
Yeah.
And I can't hang out with Susan every day. And even if I did, we also want other friends, other perspectives, so just put yourself out there a little bit, maybe make new friends. It felt really good after the spa when we met Allie. It just felt good. I have her on Instagram. I'm watching what she's doing. She shares a lot on her Instagram, and it's nice. I'm cheering for her. I think it's awesome what she's doing.
So you know what it is though? It's finding people who help you grow and glow.
Exactly.
And romance can also be finding a significant other that helps you to do that. And
that's where what I said about more successful than me and more this and more that, it's because you want to be growing together versus being stagnant or being,
if you're not challenged, you're not changed.
Yeah.
So
and change is good.
And I said that today when we were doing the squats. So it's kind of all tying in.
Yes, it is.
I love it when that happens.
If you don't challenge yourself, you don't grow.
Yep. And you don't glow.
You
glow after you do the Evolve Spa, though.
Oh my God, it's so
I
nice.
wish we were actually being paid to say this. And by the way, if Evolve Spa is listening, I think I've said this before on. Please
say it again.
Let us come for free just once. We'll come back anyway. We don't mind paying, but
I'll try different services too.
Right.
Like that.
If you need a guinea pig,
we're guinea pigs.
We got you.
Yeah. Is that it for today?
That's it.
Oh, so I guess the thing we've been loving, yes, has been the gym, but we also each got a new gym bag and some new sneakers. So
obviously aesthetic ones.
Pretty aesthetic ones, yeah. We're pretty excited about
Mine's
those.
green and hers is white.
Yeah.
So predictable.
And it might be so minor, but it makes it makes me feel good that I get to bring my gym bag with my sneakers in it and all that stuff. And it's like I'm a gym girl, and I don't care how stupid it is. It makes me happy.
She got white sneakers. They're white.
And I got them because if I only wear them in the gym, they might stay white.
Yeah. And right now we have so much salt on our roads and everything that the gym is indoor sneakers only. So it's, we'll update you. I'll let you know when those sneakers are no longer white.
Yeah. It might not take that long, but we'll see.
Okay.
I'll try. They're in my gym bag and they're staying in my gym bag. So I'm only going to wear them at the gym.
Same.
But we'll see. When summer comes around and we don't have to change our shoes anymore, they might not stay white.
That's true. Although we could buy another pair.
And to be fair, they're on sale. It's kind of my excuse of why I bought them. They're on sale.
Let's just justify ourselves.
I have an excuse now. Oh, I'm so good at justifying. I have an excuse now to have white. I can have white sneakers. Not that I have to have white sneakers, but I could. Anyways.
Whatever makes you feel happy about making yourself grow and do better.
Yeah, whatever push you need, whatever little things that help. Just if it helps, go with it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And on that note,
yes, from us to you,
keep growing and glowing.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching our podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe. And follow us on our social media at Lou&Sue Podcast on both Instagram and TikTok. See you next week.